Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. I'm gonna fall. We're back on the LS Discovery, and we have a rat's nest of wiring. That's today's project. So Ted has the Rover harness out of there. So it's all sitting on the bench now, and we have the eBay T56 LS harness sitting here. Ted went ahead and labeled everything out so we know where it all goes. And now the process of, look at that. That was off Ted's TJ. Well, snappy. Ted's gonna strip all the loom off and weed out what we don't need on this one. Once you buy the kit, you get the instruction manual that has it laid out what you need to delete out and tie in with that guy. Otherwise, he also offers the service of doing it for you. I think it's $300 some odd or somewhere around there, to where he will modify the harness for you. So if you don't feel like tackling this, that's a good option. It's really not a lot of money for the headache saved. But either way, we'll do a little time lapse of this getting all stripped down, and just know that in the instruction manual, he lays out exactly what you need to do. So Ted's got it mostly stripped down here, and some of the plugs cut off. So we got the harnesses over here, and just to the right of that, Ted's got the owner's manual up on the interweb. So he's just been bouncing back and forth between there, and as you see, quite a bit of the factory harness gets removed, with a few staying, obviously, like one that goes to the body, keeping the alternator stuff, I believe, mass airflow, I think throttle position sensor. This stuff is to the ECU itself. So he's gonna work on this area next. So Ted's got the Discovery harness all pared down to just what we need left. Everything chopped off that we're not going to use. Everything is still sitting in the factory Discovery length. He had some fun in there. Got some goop going into the grommet to keep it all weather tight, so that's always nice and sticky. So next step is for Ted to take the LS T56 standalone harness and marry it to this guy, and we are going to keep the LS ECU in the same general location as the factory Land Rover one. I will say that it is nice that we have several of these things laying around. So we have one that is completely stock for reference on where all the wiring is. That's especially beneficial for when you take it apart 6 months ago. So on the belt drive, here's the factory Land Rover tensioner, and there's an idler pulley here. You're gonna swap those two. In order to swap those two, you gotta blow everything apart on them, the little reducer plates. And what you're gonna do is you are going to do that, and install them like so. And then they'll be able to flop from position to position. So this will now go on the tensioner, and this will go where the idler was. All right, so we got the belt on there. As you saw, it was a little bit of a challenge. This is the one we used, which is a 99 7/8 inch belt. I believe he had it called for 99.5. I'd probably do something a touch over 100, and then the belt won't have to be stretched as much to get on. And we went with some Land Rover green for the belt color. Not on purpose, just happened to be what we ordered. Ted also has the power steering hoses in place. This lower one just had to be stretched and routed through the bracket there, and it fits up in there, and then the bottom pressure side just feeds in like so. And on the AC lines, this rear one bolted up nicely without really any trouble, and then the front one we unbolted from both ends and left this off first, and Ted did this side first, and it's got a little 180 in there, but it has not kinked the hose, so that should work nicely. And then he was able to zip that guy on. So AC lines, power steering lines, all set. Belt is in place. We can start working on throwing some of the wiring on, maybe the radiator in place. The fan should fit in there. So with the fan in place, it sits lower on the radiator than it did with the Land Rover engine. So the lower shroud no longer clears. Whittle away at it until it fits. So here is the lower fan shroud after Ted chopped it up. As you can see, mainly in the lower corners and on the passenger side, a fair amount of it out of the way. But now we got no rubby with the fan. So cutting that lower shroud was kind of an exercise in futility. The lower shroud fit nicely, but if you put the upper one where it's supposed to be, it hits everything. Gets in the way of that. Gonna be tough to do intake. So I went and looked back at how they have it in the pictures, and it looks like they got it moved back. So we'll slice and do some more slicing and pretty that up, and it'll sit in that general vicinity. All right, so we got the fuel line all hooked up, AN line adapter to the factory feed. And being we bought an engine that is 05 and older, it is a return style rail that it comes with, and we need a returnless system. So we went ahead and crimped the return, tigged that up. So now we just have the feed, blocked off the regulator, so that is all good to go. We got the GM harness pretty much in place. Everything plugged in except for mass airflow and O2 sensors. So the GM one ties in right under the dash there. We got it ran through the firewall in the factory grommet with the disco harness. And then we have it kind of looped around this fuse box relay panel, and kind of switch what we're going to do. There is the plugs for the ECU. We're gonna make a bracket here and hang the GM ECU here. And that should sit nicely. Mind you, it looks like a mess right now, but that's kind of the way it goes. Discovery harness has been pared down to just what is necessary and routed roughly in place. What we're gonna do there is, we have everything roughly where it needs to be. We're going to get this thing fired up first, and then we'll go back through and remove the wires that we have cut that are not needed. We just want to make sure everything functions correctly before we depin some of the harness. So that'll be done after startup, and then once we have that, we'll get this all loomed up and prettied up. Right now it's a mess. Once it's running and we verify everything functions correctly, we'll make it not a mess. Inside underneath the dash here, we have the plugs for the disco ECU. That'll go in the factory location. We have our little connector for the ACE conversion box, little electrical box they include with it. That's all wired in. We'll mount that underneath the dash. So that is where we sit now, belt in place. We'll have to modify the fan shroud. Wiring's all sitting. We need to get our spark plug wires on. That's a difficult one. For some reason we saved till last. But spark plug wires on, oil in, plug the ECUs in, and on the next video, you're gonna hear this run. Hopefully. That's the plan at least. So next video, we'll have it fired up. If you haven't watched the rest of them yet and you're interested, I'll put the playlist up here. Other than that, catch you on the next video. Appreciate you guys watching.